Nah, some nice piano music before the fucking carnage begins. Beyond Citadel is an old school style FPS, also known as a boomer shooter by people who like to use the term boomer unironically. It sees you take control of the Martyr, a cybernetically enhanced warrior on a mission to kill the 7 machine angels and their armies of minions. Along the way, the game will try to tell the sad, tragic tale of how the Martyr came to be like she is, and what role not only her enemies had in it, but also her supposed allies. Visually, the game isn't anything special due to its low-budget origins. The levels are all sprawling, blocky cityscapes made up of grey-green blocks with the odd brown wall tossed in to break it up. Although there are some levels that are quite open and fun to traverse, but they'll never make you stop and look around and marvel at the environment. It's functional. It'll take you from start to finish, and that's about it. What's not functional is the UI, which is absolutely fucking terrible. There's a ridiculous booby avatar taking up most of the space that the health bar and the useless oxygen and food bars should be. The character sprites for your enemies are all quite varied, but are about as basic as it's possible to get. None of them also have any back or side sprites, so they do that odd old school thing where everything seems to rotate to follow you around. The sprites for your allies are quite generic art drawings, which gives the bizarre impression that you're running around talking to a series of cardboard cutouts like a psychopath. As well as with pretty much every aspect of this game, the best is saved for the guns. Each gun is heavily detailed and a really well drawn piece of work, which gives some really nice heft to the gunplay. Watch. Have some of that, you fucking cunt. The sound and music are a bit of a mixed bag here, and what will become a recurring theme for Beyond Citadel: when it clicks, it really clicks, and when it doesn't, it really doesn't. The music alternates between dreamy piano tunes and heavier pieces, and when the music lines up well with the levels, it creates an intense atmosphere that fools you into thinking you're looking at something other than the same series of grey-green blocks over and over. And when it doesn't, it jars horribly against the action on screen, and you'll end up having to either ignore it or switch it off. The sound is serviceable for the most part. The main issue is the poor mixing with regards to the volume levels. Some sound effects are way back in the mix and make it very difficult to figure out where anything is located. Other sound effects, namely the graphically splattering sounds, come in very loudly regardless of how far you are away from the source. The storyline of Beyond Citadel is pretty thin. You play as the Martyr, humanity's last hope after the Trumpeters of the Apocalypse, which has got to be one of the dumbest fucking villain names ever, damn near exterminate the human race, killing off an incredibly specific 9,999,856,000 of the 10 billion humans that are on Earth. The Martyr receives a strange signal from the Citadel of the first game and returns to clean up the brainwashed minions and the 7 machine angels, even though they're called demons when you fight them. The Martyr is guided by the spirit of her dead brother, who's also her lover because of course he is, and a handful of other characters whose only notable trait is their complete lack of depth, and for some of them clothes, lending the cardboard cutout nature of their sprites a nice ironic touch. If that synopsis seems weird or inadequate, don't worry, because it is weird, and trying to piece it together from the NPC conversations in between the acts and the brief snippets on the loading screens will make your head hurt, and none of it's relevant to the game anyway. The translation is also quite poor, meaning that some exchanges will leave you more confused about what's going on than before you started. There is an attempt at a big exposition dump near the end of the game, but again, the poor translation and shoddy design get in the way. The dev may have actually been better off simply writing out the lore in his native language as concisely as possible, and either paying a professional to translate it, or releasing it online and letting the fans do it for themselves for all the impact it has on the game. But let's face it, you're not here for the religion and incest tinged storyline, you're not here for the barren levels, the sparse music, you're here for the gunplay, you're here for the combat, you're here to make a lot of shit dead really fucking quickly. And it's here that Beyond Citadel truly shines. It's very obvious this is where the majority of the work has gone into the game. The combat mechanics have been polished to perfection. The main selling point is the realistic reloading and gun handling. The weapons in Beyond Citadel have mags that reload themselves if you take them out for a few seconds, but this leaves you vulnerable, so you can do a quick reload that discards the mag and all the ammo in it and loads in a fresh one. But your supply of these is limited and you'll have to either buy or find more to keep being able to quick load. It's an awesome mechanic and one I truly do think every shooter should have, at least just the part where you discard the ammo in the mag every time you reload. The game also has a condition and jamming aspect which is solid and well implemented. It's there, you have to pay attention to it, but it doesn't ruin the enjoyment or take the fun out of the action. It's also quite a remarkable achievement to have this many fucking guns in a game and have them all handle so differently. I haven't seen this level of variety since last time I played Turok 2. Too bad this variety doesn't extend to the enemies or to the bosses who, while looking impressive, all but kill off the momentum the combat brilliantly builds on the way up to them. All of their arenas are quite poorly designed. Most have areas where you can just stand and shoot at them, completely cheesing these really nicely designed bosses. What I like about Beyond Citadel's combat is that you can tackle the fights in your own way, and figuring out the optimal way of pasting a room filled with mooks is an awful lot of fun. The game is set up perfectly to reward tackling the fights in novel ways, such as grappling around and picking enemies off, or mastering the lean and shoot if you're getting up close and personal. Try to leg it around Doom style out of cover, however, will see you getting sawn on half with bullet fire in the first few seconds at the beginning of the game, but with a few mods and some heavy armour, you can tank it, satisfyingly wasting all and sundry in your path. It's been a good while since I've had this much fun with a shooter, and best of all, if you find the cocking, unload and reload method gimmicky or boring, you can just simply switch it off in what is a wonderful quality of life nod to more novice players. I will take a moment to point out though that Beyond Citadel contains a near abusive amount of padding in its levels, which only gets worse the further to the end of the game you get, with the game padding out a full 7 levels after the final boss has been dispatched. The tank and mech levels were designed to add variety, but they failed due to their levels being just more of the same long drawn out grey-green areas. It kills the feel of the action having to hike around these labyrinths when it would have served the game so much more by trimming them down, making them more robust. Oh, see how I popped them in the middle without even fucking aiming? Combat in this game is great. In conclusion, the amount of enjoyment you'll get out of Beyond Citadel is limited by how much you can ignore or delude yourself about everything in the game bar the combat. If you can gloss over the juvenile obsession with gore, grey green blocks and anime girls, you'll find an exceptionally well put together shooter. What's less easy to gloss over is the poor level design, even poorer UI and complete lack of a coherent story. I feel the best thing this game could have had was a good editor or director telling the developer to pare down all the elements that detract from the fact that this is a really fucking fun game to play. A fun game that an awful lot more people should be playing rather than the niche it's been crammed into. But because of the myriad of issues and, let's face it, the elephant in the room regards to the imagery used in the game, it's one I'm really struggling to recommend to anybody.